be screwed. Feel my own adrenaline, yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Issei, Rias Enter the Marvel Universe. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of VaranFall on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Ah, that's refreshing. Sam sighed as he finished drinking an energy drink, throwing the can into a disposal bin. He was currently in his lab, making last-minute adjustments to a series of programmed systems. In front of him were over a dozen of holograms of data, his eyes going back and forth as he read through everything he had set up. Looks like that's about everything. Are you able to download this into the suit today, Avon? This is several terabytes of data, sir. The AI responded, appearing as Sam walked over to the lab's corner to grab his school uniform. It will be done by the time you're back from school, in 3 hours. Oh DMN, I'm late? Sam asked as he rubbed his eyes, changing into the uniform. He had buttoned up both his shirt and jacket up. With his chest reactor fully charged, it was glowing much brighter than before. So as a way to hide it, he had to cover it with 2 layers of clothes. It wasn't so much as it wasn't allowed. He just figured that it'd be less distracting for class if his chest wasn't glowing like a Christmas tree. For the 10th school day in a row, sir? Avon answered, her voice sarcastic as she did. I've redirected all of the calls from the student council to the Haidu family to avoid them knowing. However, it sounds like they're getting rather upset over it. Can't imagine why, Sam said as he finished changing. He's been in QO for a little over a month now, and had gotten a mix of a good and bad reputation. To go with the good, Sam's arrival allowed him to update most of the academy's software and even offers to tutor students during his free PRD later in the day. However, he's constantly late for his morning classes. At first it was mostly by a few minutes, but as he worked more and more on his project, the later he was coming in. Today would mark the longest at 3 hours, which meant he was expecting another earful from the student council when he made it there. I'll send in an excuse as to why you're late. Again. The AI nagged at Sam, getting a chuckle from him before he left the lab and headed for the school. It was only a couple minutes of walking, so as he made his way he stopped by a vendor and bought a bag of vegetables for lunch. As he walked to the academy he pulled out a green pepper from the bag and started to eat it like an apple, getting glances from passers as he did. As he reached Kuo Academy, he mentally sighed as he saw 2 students at the front gate, several onlookers watching. Oh great, looks like I'm at the center of attention today. He raised an eyebrow as he saw a band across the 2 girls' sleeves, reading Disciplinary Committee on them. Oh goody, it gets worse. You're late. Haya Narita, the head of the disciplinary committee stated as he got close enough. Haya was a second-year student like Sam, and that's where the similarities ended. She had dark brown hair that went down her back, well kept and set to perfection. Her eyes were a deep green, a misleading calm in the color despite the constant glare she seemed to have. She was also an example of beauty. With a pretty face, wide hips and C-cup melons, she'd likely have been one of the popular girls in school if it weren't for her rather default angry personality. That, and she's more likely to kick your butt than to have an average conversation with you. Even her own committee members were too scared to speak when around her. Congrats, you figured it out. Sam chuckled as he tossed in his hand up, juggling it in his free hand. You want a reward or something? I don't have much on me, but you can't really get enough vegetables, right? You might even need some. It really helps giving life to that dead pale skin you have. The comment caused the girl's left eye to twitch, but she otherwise kept her cold stare. You've been late for 10 days in a row now. I'm not sure how your schools in your country do things, but we have a rather simple set of rules, most of which you've already broken. 1. I actually have hardly broken a single rule. Sam corrected, smirking as he saw the girl's eye twitch again. I know the rules fairly well actually, since I do enjoy the wonders of learning. For example, in Kyo Academy, the mandatory amount of hours needed to attend per day is at least an average of 2. Now, if your grades are B or lower, that is a very different story as you have to take the usual full day of courses. I, however, am acing all of my courses, even the ones I'm missing. 2. Sam stopped for a second to bite from his pepper, throwing wood into the fire that was Haya's anger as he spoke with his mouth full. I have always skipped classes for a certain amount of time when I go to school. I do my learning best when working on it, so even if I were in class, I'd be going off on my own wheels. No teacher-like experience, I say. He then started to walk past Haya, swallowing the food in his mouth as he did. Oh, and as for my country, I've lived in Japan for a large chunk of my life. I earned the right to citizenship and consider this country more of a home rather than America. So if that's all settled, I'd head to Klaog. Before he could fully pass her, Haya grabbed his wrist and twisted his arm behind his back, using only one arm to keep him in place. Article 6 Section C Paragraph 4. When the head of the disciplinary committee is speaking to a recent transfer student, said student is to listen diligently and isn't allowed to leave until given permission. Do you remember that rule, Mr. Didialus? Mr. Didialus, Sam winced, dropping his green pepper while keeping his smirk. My, how formal of you, head disciplinary committee. I must command a good degree of respect to be referred to by my family name. Unlike you, I have dignity and integrity. The girl responded, pulling on his arm a bit more to add a second of pain. As a student who weaseled his way into the academy, I owe you bare minimum amount of respect that's required for a student. You have an interesting way of showing it, he commented. Who's your inspiration, the Punisher? Do you have an off SWCH somewhere? She asked. It'd make dealing with you so much easier. I do actually. He smirked, tapping his reactor. Just rip this 3 gigajoule battery out of me and I cut right off. Although there are others way to get me to. One more word, and I will gladly rip whatever is powering your chest. As interesting as it would be to see what an arc reactor looks smaller, I don't think that'd be a good idea. The crowd that was watching started to move aside as Denica walked past them, stopping just as she reached the 3. What are you doing here, Denica? Haya questioned. You're supposed to be in class right now. You don't have a free PRD for another hour. True. But as I sat in class, I looked out the window and saw you waiting here and went, oh SHT, Sam's gonna get his butt kicked. And while any other guy I'd be willing to watch a good all-butt kicking, I figured it'd be a good idea to stop this one. Denica explained, showing no hesitation or fear, unlike the disciplinary chair's SCRT. I mean, we are talking about the guy here whose dad is famous for improving and revolutionizing weapons of mass destruction. I'd say PSS off his son, who I remind you is believed to have even more potential as he is, like you plan on. She's right. Sam spoke up. If killing was my thing, I'd probably be able to make nukes with enough radiation that Professor Banner would have centuries worth of research to focus on. Threats from you seem rather pointless, considering your current position, Haya said, putting emphasis in her meaning by tightening her grip on his wrist. Then take a threat from me. The whole area went dead silent as Denica grabbed Haya's forearm, a dark presence being felt despite Denica's smiling. You do anything further here, and I'm afraid you'll have to learn how to work with only a single arm. A deathly silent stare down then ensued, no one daring to even breathe as the 2 girls gave heated glares to one another. Maybe I went a little overboard here, Sam thought, starting to wish he had just came in at the normal time. He didn't know why, but he felt like he was in a lot greater risk right now than just getting a twisted arm. Fine. After a minute of staring, Haya relented, releasing Sam's arm. The boy quickly got a foot away from the 2, rubbing his wrist as he tried to numb the pain. He gets off this time. But if he shows up later than the time allowed, even by a minute, I will exercise my full authority in DSPLN. Of course. Denica responded, smiling brightly as if nothing had happened. You caved in to the student council. Sam chuckled, instantly getting silenced as the disciplinary chair kicked his chin and knocked him over. Get to class, she said before walking away, her SCRT following after. Sam! Denica kneeled down to the down boy in concern, turning him over to hold his head up. Are you okay? Joke's on her. Sam winced, smirking as he looked over to Denica. I totally saw her panties. Seriously? The blonde asked, giving Sam a half-lidded stare. You just got drop-kicked by a martial artist who's won 2 regional championships, and all you can say is that you saw her panties. What color were they? Man, she did not hold back in that kick, did she? Issei asked as he and Sam walked out of the elevator into Sam's lab. I mean, I heard she's won championships before, but it sounds like she didn't put too much effort into that kick. Certainly didn't feel like it, Sam said as he rubbed the bandage covering his cheek, the cold sensation from it causing him to itch. That kick was so sudden, I didn't even see it coming. I wonder if she's a mutant or something. That'd explain how she was able to kick that quickly. No way, dude, they have DNA tests to make sure humans and mutants aren't participating in the same leagues. Issei shot the idea down, bringing up the rule. A human fighting a mutant is likely to end in the mutant's favor. Actually, it probably wouldn't even be a contest. Not all mutants have strength or speed enhancements, dude. Sam started, going to one of his holo panels. Also, why do you know that? Never mind. I think I might have an idea or two as to why. Don't give me that look, Issei responded, seeing Sam's judging stare. That's some of the tamer stuff I watch. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff me and the guys watch. Separately? I'm disappointed in you, man. Sam sighed, shaking his head before going to work on the hologram. Avon, has the data finished transferring yet? The AIS form then took shape, appearing as a continuous sphere of spinning data on the table next to Issei. The data has taken a little longer than I expected, sir. I had forgotten to account for the FAU's data input. FAU? Issei asked, looking to the AIS form. What is that? FAU, Mr. Hyodu, not FAU. FAU stands for Flight Assistance Unit, a program Mr. Didialuz created to assist him when he's in air. The AI corrected. Man, why didn't Sam give you an actual form? Issei whined. You has such an angelic voice, I bet you would look like a smoking babe. What is wrong with my current appearance? Avon asked, her tone genuine as she moved up to in front of Issei. This image is meant to serve as a means to be perfectly efficient. There is not excess data being used to shape, and I can access everything in 0.01 seconds. Well, it's just, you're kind of nothing. Issei relented, feeling pressured into shutting up at the AI's voice. He then blinked twice, looking up to Sam as he closed the hologram between his hands and walked across the lab. Wait, in the air? As in, flying? That's what flight is, yes. Why would you have a program for that? Issei asked. Last time I checked, you don't own any private jets, well, aside from the ones your dad uses to send you from place to place. You're right on that, Sam responded as he walked up to a scanner, placing his hand on it. It glowed bright for a second before dinging, a part of the wall moving around to reveal a large capsule. But what all flying's a lot more subtle. The capsule then opened up, and Issei gaped at what he saw. A suit of armor, shining bright silver, stood within the capsule. It had a slightly bulk form, larger than both him and Sam, yet wasn't over the top. Even with the added size, the design was slick and smooth, with only the bolts that held each piece together taking away the flawless surface. And at the center of the chest, an opening that lined up with Sam's reactor. What is that? This, Sam chuckled. This right here is my secret project. The most advanced suit of armor ever created. Want to see me put it on? Hell yeah. So, how does it feel? Issei asked, standing next to Sam as he almost had the full suit on. With it, he stood a few inches taller, going up to around 6'3". And with it on, the centerpiece glowed bright, his reactor being held kept back by a thick piece of glass. Sam rotated his shoulders a bit, getting a true feel for it while holding the faceplate in his right hand. A little tight at the shoulders, and I probably should do something on the chest. Other than that, fits like a glove. Probably a little more snug than a glove, Issei said, remembering that Sam had to take his clothes off and put on a skin-tight jumpsuit. So what can this thing do? Well, not too much at the moment, Sam answered, putting the mask on, the eyes of it glowing blue as his HUD appeared for him. I've only designed this suit with flight in mind. The boots have thrusters at the feet, and my palms have repulsors to help with stability. Other than that, it should have enhanced strength and reflexes, bulletproof exterior, and heightened movement speed. And given how you are, no weapons I'd guess, Issei threw out, knowing well that Sam wouldn't install weapons into this suit. Nope, and if I did I'd only put in riot control grade gear, the boy said, his voice becoming more mechanical and deeper. Oh, and I put a voice modulator in this thing. Thought it'd be good if everyone didn't know who was flying a suit of metal in town. Sounds about right, Issei nodded. So what now then? Going to do a test run in here? I was thinking of having a little more room, he responded as he turned to the farthest wall. Avon, you integrated in yet? I have just finished, sir. The AI answered, her image appearing in the HUD for a second before getting moved to the upper right corner. Shall I open up the tunnel for you? That'd be great. Sam then turned to Issei, waving him back as the wall moved and revealed a secret tunnel. You might want to step back a bit, and maybe cover your ears. When he did as told, Sam placed his feet together and faced his palms down. All right, Avon, shall we? With pleasure, sir. A second later, Sam's thrusters burned to life, causing him to hover for a few seconds to get a feel of things. As he did, the free plates of the suit twitched and moved, signaling that his air brakes were freed and ready if they were to be needed. Let's go! Leaning forward, Sam took off and let his thrusters free, moving at high speeds through the tunnel. Mr. Hyodu, Avon called out, her hologram forming at the center of the lab. Wait, aren't you supposed to be in his suit? I am software, Mr. Hyodu. I can be transferred into anything and leave copies of myself. I am in all of Mr. Didialu's technology as a base program, she explained. Now if you'd like to watch from the suit's HUD, please come over here. I can watch? SHT, yeah. He cheered as he ran over to the AI, a screen popping up next to her to show the live feed. Woohoo, Sam laughed in the suit, following the twisted tunnel's path while keeping as straight of a path as he could. As he was nearing the end of it, it opened up to reveal the sunny sky, and his true speed was shown as he flew out into the sky. Oh man, this is awesome. Eyes, you seeing this? Yeah, I'm watching from one of your screens, Issei responded, staring in awe as he saw the aerial view of Kyo. Man, I never saw town from the air. It looks so much smaller from there. Well then, let's get a closer look. Doing a corkscrew, Sam changed his path and began to fly down towards town, getting close enough to be between the buildings. Dude, be careful, Issei warned as Sam dodged a building, too excited to be worried. You're going to hit something if you stay that low. Sam rolled his eyes in response, enjoying his new suit too much. Oh, relax. This is me we're talking about here. There's nothing to woe. Before he could finish, his left foot hit against a sign, causing him to spin and grind against the side of a building. Recovering, he faced his palms toward the building and flew off higher, getting above the tallest buildings. That might leave a scratch. You think? Dispatch, we have a. Issei then began to hear radio chatter, causing him to look to his immediate right to see a screen with wavelength features. Hey Sam, what's the wavy stuff popping up? Oh that's just my suit connecting to the radio waves, Sam answered, taking off higher into the air. I adjusted my suit to pick up any radio signals in Japan, just to hear what's going on. It sounds like it's all police chatter, Issei added. Dude, are you breaking the law? It's not breaking the law if they don't know about it, Sam answered casually. Don't worry, I'm not planning anything shady. It's just that I'll likely enter a no-fly zone at some point, and I'd like to be aware if the military is sending something after me. Sam, that's still risky. If they manage to figure out you're tracing them, that'll lead them to us, me and my parents. That won't happen, Issei. How can you? Issei was interrupted as a radio signal went off. Ha 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 ha. A loud, psychotic laugh was heard from the other side, the wave signal appearing in both of the boys' feed. Oh man, this is a blast tilde. Hey operator guy, can this bad boy go any faster? Sir please, the train isn't supposed to be going at this speed so close to a town. A panicked voice took over, the man sounding terrified. This train goes right through the middle of town, and at this speed it won't be able to stay on the tracks when the turn comes. You have to. A sickening crunch was then heard, followed by the first voice's laughter. La ham tilde. Come on, you multi-ton beast. Let's let loose. Avon, where is that signal coming from? Sam questioned, getting the location set right away. Issei, I want you to keep a track on it while I go. What are you going to do? Issei asked. Something probably stupid, he responded, changing course and heading right towards the radio signal. Avon, I want you to do voice recognition and figure out who was talking from the Japanese database. Searching, identities found. A picture then popped up on Sam's HUD, an Asian man in his 40s with black hair and brown eyes. The one that was warning of the train's speed is a Nagasashi Tokamak, a train conductor that's been working on the central trainway for a decade. As for the second one, a picture of an European man then came up, with orange hair and green eyes who appeared to be in his early 20s. His name is Cletus Kasadi, a foreigner that spent 17 years in Japan. Anything I should know about him? Sam asked as he approached the signal source, seeing the electric train going at high speeds, far faster than anyone sane would have it going at its distance from a town with a curve in the tracks. Mr. Kasadi has been reported to have accidentally killed his grandmother and family dog when he was only 7. After that, his mother was killed by his father, and he was sent to St. Est's home for boys for a year. He then killed the disciplinarian administration and a young girl before burning the orphanage to the ground. What the hell is a guy like that doing here? Issei asked, turning to the AI as she explained. Just a year ago, Mr. Kasadi was released from prison on parole, but had reportedly killed his officer and took their identity to escape North America. Attempts at tracking him had been insufficient due to Mr. Kasadi buying over a dozen tickets to different countries around the world and bribing an identical number of people to take the plane rides that he didn't. Around the same time, a man at Tokyo had been reportedly gone missing, not being discovered until just last week. So we're dealing with an insane whack job. Got it, Sam stated, carefully flying towards the train and landing just behind the lead car. He then knelt down to the train's link to the rest of the cars and punched it, ripping the link off and disconnecting the front car. Dude, what are you doing? Relax, Issei, Sam said, watching the train carts as they began to slow down. With the lead cart disconnected, the other's automatic brakes will kick in. This way, stopping the train will be a lot easier. Remember what I taught you about momentum. The lighter the object, the less force it carries and the less needed to stop it. Exactly, Sam chuckled, turning to open the door. I couldn't risk stopping the train fully connected this close to Kyoto. But if my calculations are correct, I should be able to stop it now if I pull the brakes. As he opened the door, Sam recoiled back slightly, seeing a gruesome sight before him. On the ground, lying in a puddle of BLD with his head cracked open, was Nagasashi. No. Oh God. Issei gagged as he looked away from the screen, holding a hand to his mouth to avoid throwing up. That's just sick. Kasadi isn't here, Sam noted as he walked up to the man's corpse, kneeling next to him for a second to pay respect. Sir, the radio is still active, Avon spoke. Just above where Nagasashi is. I believe he activated the radio in hopes of warning one of the stations before he was killed. You gave your life to save others, Sam whispered, closing his eyes as he placed a hand on Nagasashi's chest, his face beaten in past recognition. I promise you it won't be for nothing. Taking a deep breath to steel himself, Sam stood up and opened his eyes, looking over to the train's main console. Okay, so the regular brakes won't work, so I'll have to pull the emergency. His words then got caught in his throat as he saw the emergency brake lever was missing, appearing to have been ripped out. Where did it? Surprise, Sam couldn't react in time as the metal lever struck the back of his head. The force wasn't enough to knock him over, but it did stun him and cause him to wince. Turning, he held his arm out to block a second swing, seeing Cletus with the lever in hand. Oh ho, what the hell are you? He asked, a crazed look in his eyes as he grinned. You some kind of special tin can? Not even close, Sam responded as he caught the lever when Cletus tried to hit him again, ripping it out of his grip. With his free hand, he punched Cletus in the jaw, knocking him down and onto the ground unmoving. Avon. He's still alive, sir, the AI answered, although he may be down for a few minutes. That's all the time I need, he said as he looked out the front windshield, throwing the lever to the floor as he took note of the distance. How much time until this train reaches that turn? Not long, sir. The AI stated as a timer went up for Sam, showing that he only had 5 minutes. Damn it, this bad? He gritted his teeth as he took a step back before activating his thrusters, flying through the window and headed past the train. When he got a mile away from the vehicle, he deployed his air brakes and forced himself to stop, skidding on his feet as he turned around. Sam, Issei groaned as he collected himself, listening in to the radio chatter. Authorities in Kuo are in the process of getting people out of the area, but they won't be able to get them out in time. Do you have any ideas on stopping the train? Well, with the brakes destroyed, there's only one other thing that can be done, Sam explained, eyeing the train as it rapidly approached. What? Sam then held his hands out, his air brake plating opening up to serve as resistance support. Stop it with greater force. He planted his feet as deep into the ground as he could, wincing and looking away as the train was just about to strike him. When it finally hit, Sam grunted in pain, his suit taking most of the damage but was being pushed back rapidly. Sam, what are you doing? Issei shouted in pain, seeing Sam's vitals flare as he tried to fight against the plane. This much stress is going to wear out your heart. Simple physics, Sam grunted against clenched teeth, activating his boot thrusters and paralleled his body to the ground. If I can just push with enough force, I'll be able to stop it. Sam, I get you're trying to help people, but you have to listen to me, dude. I don't understand half of these things, but I can tell that these readings are bad. You're going to collapse if you don't get out of there. I can't, Sam shouted, turning his head back to face the train. This is what this suit was made for. He then began to transfer power in his suit, sending all non-essential power into the thrusters. As it was being done, he placed his head against the vehicle, noting that his limbs were slowly denting into the train. It can, take it. It'll get me through this because that's what it's made for. The full power then entered his thrusters, allowing Sam to slowly gain more and more force over the train as it was getting dangerously close to Kuo. Sam, you have to listen to me. Your heart is. Trust me. Avon spoke up to Issei, confusing him. Mr. Didialuz is going to be safe. All of the power not going into the thrusters are going to his medical systems. My creator will be fine. But he's dedicated now. My creator had this suit made to help people in emergency situations just like this. The very reason I haven't done anything to divert him is because this was the whole point of his life's work. All of his previous inventions, the suit, me, it has all been to serve the purpose of protecting life. So trust me in assisting my creator. You don't have to worry, eyes, Sam added in, making progress at stopping the train. I can handle the train, I just need you to keep me posted on the progress. I can have Avon properly manage my heart automatically, but I need you to give us an idea on your side. Right. Issei relented, shifting the hologram to the active radio feed. It looks like there's only a few people in the area, but in the panic there's still a few people either in cars or helping others get away. And there's an oil rig just next to where the train will crash. Still have people to save, Sam muttered to himself, gritting his teeth as his thrusters went to full power. He was running out of track as he passed by the Fist building, signaling that he was now in Kuo. Diamenet, we're not going to stop it in time. 10 seconds to detraction, Avon warned. 2 people are just at the edge. One appears to be bracing themselves for the imminent collision to attempt protecting the other. Sam's eyes snapped open at the news, realizing he had no time left. Cut the thrusters. The suit didn't even take a second to do so, which made both his feet stomp deep into the ground. Because of the momentum and his position, the train began to flip over him, detaching from the railing and going into the air. With it off the ground, Sam reactivated his thrusters and flew up, throwing his hands up and caught it on its side. The initial weight caused him to lower, his feet just touching the ground as his suit adjusted to the weight. He looked over to his right, seeing the 2 people staring at him in shock. One was a little boy, no older than 6, that likely froze in fear at seeing the approaching train. The other caused Sam's eyes to widen in shock, as it was Hiya standing as if she stood in front of the kid with her arms out. Well, this is awkward. Using the suit's strength, he tossed the train a few feet away onto the road, avoiding any people or vehicles that were left. He sighed in relief and held a hand to his chest, feeling his systems reset and redistributes the power back around the suit. He then turned to Haya and the boy, making sure his voice modulator was powered before speaking. "Are you two okay?" The girl nodded in response, unable to speak as she stared in shock at the man in armor. It almost seemed as something out of a science fiction movie, technology she had no idea was even possible by today's standards. Hiding a sigh, he started to walk towards the train, knowing there was something that still had to be done. "Stay here, I'll be back in a minute." When he reached the train, he moved to the back and grabbed onto the door, ripping it off and throwing it behind him. On the inside, Cletus was groaning as he slowly stood up, managing to suffer minimal injuries outside BLD coming down his right arm from a shard of glass. "Man, my head." He then looked up, seeing Sam stomp over towards him. "Tin Man, showing yourself again, huh?" "Avon, calculate the amount of force needed to knock him out," Sam ordered, getting the calculation immediately. And without a word, he slammed his fist into Cletus' face, knocking him down and out. Night, butt." Grabbing the sociopath, he walked out of the train and laid him on the road, looking up to see a crowd of people start to form. If anyone is able enough, this man needs to be watched until authorities arrive. He's the one who set the train off. I can watch him," Hare responded, shaking her shock off and kneeling next to Cletus. "Good." The sound of police sirens going off caused Sam to look up, seeing the officers begin to move past the crowd. "Looks like I got to go." He then stood up, preparing to activate his thrusters before saying one last thing to Haya. He should be out for a while, but if he wakes up before he's cuffed, give him a swift kick to the head. That should stun him long enough to be detained. "Right." Haya nodded, sounding more and more like herself as time went. Sam then activated his thrusters, hovering up a bit, and was about to fly off when the girl spoke up. "Wait," he looked back down to her, motioning her to speak quickly. "Who are you?" "Who am I?" he echoed, not expecting the question. "Well, I'm—" When he noticed the officers get close, he knew he had to make it quick and get it over with. "I'm just an inventor," he responded, flying off before the officers had reached the pair. He went high into the air, knowing he has to wait a few minutes before returning back to the lab. "Oh man, I'm so going to feel this in the morning." "Holy SHT dude," Issei shouted as Sam landed back in the lab, taking his helmet off and placing it on one of the tables. "That was insane." "You're telling me?" He groaned as he rubbed the back of his neck, placing his hands on the table and taking a breather. "That was definitely not the way I was planning on warming the suit up. At least I figured out my current limits and where I can improve it." "Dude, are you okay?" Issei asked, placing his hand on Sam's armored shoulder. "You look exhausted, and your suit took a bit of damage on its arms." "I am tired, but nothing's wrong with my arms," Sam responded, giving Issei a smile to try and relax him. "The armor isn't bent into me, so I should be fine." He then turned to Issei, a thought coming across him. "I didn't stay to hear anything. How is the condition on everything?" "Well, you might want to see for yourself," Issei said, turning as Avon activated a hologram for them, a news broadcast playing on it. Just minutes ago, a train making a routine trip to Kuo had nearly went off its tracks in town. The reporter explained, the damage blocked off by police tape. The train conductor had used his radio to give a warning before being unfortunately killed by a Cletus Cassati. A video of the sociopath was then shown, still unconscious as he was cuffed and put into a police car. Mr. Cassati had apparently hijacked the train and was aiming to crash it, but was luckily by a surprise no one was expecting. The video of Cletus then changed, going to a vertical recording of Sam flipping the train and catching it, preventing Haya and the boy from being squashed. Someone completely covered in armor miraculously managed to stop the accident and minimize the damage. "Putting it lightly," Sam commented, getting a chuckle from Issei in response. This man refused to identify him, but many of the witnesses have come to calling him Metal Knight. "Metal Knight?" Sam echoed, raising an amused eyebrow. "I mean, it sounds interesting, although I feel like that gives too much of a form of nobility on me. I mean, I didn't do much to get that vibe other than save a few people from a speeding train." He then waved his hand, deactivating the hologram and leaning back against the table. "You're still going to keep the name, right?" Issei asked, getting a laugh from Sam in response. "Sure, why not? Whatever Metal Knight's intentions are, it seems that he is here to protect us." The reporter continued, smiling into the camera as they showed gratitude. "And I believe when I speak for everyone else when I say, thank you, Metal Knight. You saved the lives of many innocent people." "Metal Knight?" Haya mumbled to herself, sitting on the curb with a thoughtful expression on her face and her fingers intertwined. I didn't think there was someone like you in Japan." "Someone?" She then unraveled her hands, looking at her palms with a distant gaze. She then twitched her hands slightly, causing micro-thorn-like structures to appear across her fingers. "Someone like me? But seriously, that guy has to be some kind of mutant," Matsuda said, walking next to Madohama, Issei and Alex as they were heading out for their free PRD. "He caught a train car that weighed several tons. He's got to have super strength." "No way, man, it has to be the suit," Madohama countered. "There's no way he could both have super strength and such a high intelligence to make that suit." It's only been a week since Sam caught the runaway train, and since then all of Kyoto and even Japan have been trying to figure out who was under the suit. There have been at least a dozen theories on the subject, from Metal Knight being a mutant, a government project, and someone went so far as to say he was an alien. It was the least to say that Sam and Issei have been having a strong time from laughing their butt off at all of the ridiculous claims. But Sam had made it clear to Issei that it was best to keep his identity a secret, knowing that in the wrong hands the suit could become a dangerous weapon. Either way, he seems like quite the thinker. Sam spoke, holding his phone and typing in it. Making technology that advanced isn't something you can do with just raw talent. You need a lot of experience and trial and error to figure everything out. Talking like he could make one. "Hey, I was just saying," Sam responded. "Intelligence can only be increased through continuous work. It's like a muscle, the more you work it the stronger it becomes. Don't bore us with that CRP. Seriously, you're putting way too much thought into it." All four boys jumped in confusion as they turned, seeing Kiryu standing behind them. The suit's clearly a government experiment, and the whole thing was a setup to make it look good. "Then how would you explain that foreigner, Cletus Cassati?" Madohama questioned. "There's no way they'd get an actual criminal in on such a dangerous setup. Hell, someone actually died." "Controlled simulation," Aker responded. "They let him set everything up, stop the train, catch the bad guy, and make the suit look like a tool for a hero. It's all pretty simple when you think about it. Publicity like that would be a killing for a preparation for unveiling the new weapon." "It isn't a weapon," Sam stated, biting his tongue as he got everyone's attention. If I mean, how could it be? The suit didn't seem capable of anything more than flying and enhancing strength. If it could do anything actually damaging, wouldn't it have just destroyed the tracks and derail the train? "I mean, he has a point," Issei added, trying to help get attention off Sam. "If Metal Knight had anything resembling a weapon and was military trained, wouldn't he have killed Cassati after stopping him? The guy flies around in a suit of metal and can stop a train. Even without something like a gun or sword, he's able to kill them easily," Matsuda countered. "The suit itself is a weapon. Why would it even be questioned that it isn't?" "Because unlike all of you, Metal Knight has something called DSPLN," Haya said as she came across the five, catching them off guard and scaring four of them. Sam was the only one not visibly nervous with the girl, his attention drawn to the box in her arms. Since he has the self-control to not kill, his suit becomes a tool of protection, rather than a weapon that kills. "Rather high praise from you, disciplinary chair," Sam commented. "I guess that makes some sense. Didn't Metal Knight save you and that kid from getting crushed?" When Hare refused to comment, Sam simply hummed before noticing several beakers and glass jars in the box. "What you carrying?" "Chemistry supplies." "Yes, I've been working in the lab and am bringing the supplies I bought from the school to my locker," the girl responded, glaring at Sam as she felt an implication in his words. Sam simply raised his hands in mock surrender, rolling his eyes at the glare. "Just checking. Never know when the uptight rule follower will suddenly become the rebellious rule breaker." "I'm not as unruly as you," the disciplinary chair said before walking past them, Sam taking note of a few bandages wrapped around her hands. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get this put away before my next class starts. Make use of your free class. I expect you at your next class early since you have plenty of time. Sewing. Eika spoke when Haya was out of sight, getting everyone's attention. Those bandages on her hands, I have no doubt they come from failures in sewing. How'd you know? Boys look at anything if it isn't normal on a girl. Eika interrupted Sam, lowering her glasses as she stared at him. And you were looking at that box the whole time, so I figured you saw her hands as well. Or perhaps you were trying to get a glimpse of her melons while she had her hands full. Nope. Sam simply hummed. Now, back to the ridiculousness of Metal Knight being a military experiment. Oh man, I almost lost it. Sam laughed out as he and Issei took the elevator down to Sam's lab, entering in when they arrived. It was killing me that I couldn't tell them how stupid half of their plans were, Issei added in, holding his gut as the two sat down on lounge chairs, a table between them with a hologram over it. I mean, seriously? A military experiment? There's no way anyone else could even come close to making a suit like yours. No kidding. Sam chuckled as he wiped a tear from his eye, looking over to the suit. After the whole train incident, Sam had noticed a severe flaw in his design. The power transfer was extremely slow and insufficient, so he's had to leave it on standby while it was updated and fixed. He kept the model the same, changing little than just covering the hints of bolts with plating. He also had to buff out some of the scratches from the train, so that was also a pain. But you know what the real trick is? Sam asked as he pressed on the hologram, getting a capsule with 2 sodas to pop up from the table. The reason I know no one will be able to make anything close to this is ironically my handicap. Right, only you and your dad know how to make an arc reactor. Issei remembered, him and Sam grabbing a soda before they started to drink. So what now? You've tested the suit and updated it. There anything else to do? Progress is never ending, Sam responded. I've kept it on lockdown for a bit, but I was thinking of taking it for another ride. Who knows what possible upgrades I could have for it when I get back. Dude, is there anything else you could actually get added in? Issei asked. Even then, do you think something could happen again? I'm not sure about you, but a train crash is about the furthest proof of a working project. Well, you never know. I do, sir. Avon spoke up, her hologram appearing over the table. For example, a silent alarm in Kyo's bank has been tripped. Both Issei and Sam sat straight up at the news, staring at the AI with shock. Authorities are moving in, and without direct access to the cameras, I cannot tell how many there are. Sam then looked to Issei, smirking as he put his soda down. I'd say this is a good moment for Metal Knight to show up, wouldn't you? Just go put the suit on, man. This could be bad. It's just a few guys with guns. How bad could it be? By the time Sam had the suit on, he had already lost close to 5 minutes before he made it into the air, flying high as he moved for the bank. Anything else coming up about this robbery? Possible suspects? Nothing so far, sir. The police have arrived and have quarantined the area. The reports show that they'll likely move in approximately 10 minutes. Avon answered, the data going by the HUD. Although there is a lot of collateral damage on the bank, spreading from the doors to parts of the wall. Sam, do you see that? Issei asked, both seeing the picture of the entrance. The doors were completely gone, shattered into nothing with the hinges also blown apart. At least 3 feet of the surrounding walls were also decimated, the rubble all over the place. Whoever's in there, they must have heavy weapons. And that means they'll take a few of the enforcement with them. Sam continued, narrowing his eyes at the thought. Increasing his speed, Sam descended down to in between the buildings, narrowly navigating each turn as he had Avon assist the flight. How much longer? 30 seconds, sir. After 2 more turns, Sam could see the bank just a block away, surrounded by police and emergency services alike. When he was just over them, he faced his hands put and used his repulsors to stop himself. He then landed on the road, catching both the enforcement and medical personnel alike. How many people are in there? Metal Knight? One of the officers questioned, confused to see him here. I need to know how many people are stuck in there. Sam said again, turning to the bank. There are about 5 men in there, all armed. and all of the bank staff are being held hostage. We're moving in once we get the clear. Stay here and stall that order, Sam ordered, starting to walk towards the entrance. These guys clearly are heavily armed. You'll lose men if you go in after them. Not even waiting for a response, Sam approached the opening in the bank, his fingers tightening into a fist before relaxing. Issei, what am I dealing with? Avon's scanning the building now. Issei responded, looking at the list and images that appeared in front of him. It looks like 4 of them have a mostly fully automatic rifles, one of them having a shotgun as well. The 5th one seems to have some weird energy reading to it. Strange energy reading? Sir, the suspect appears to have a low-powered core connected to an advanced exoskeleton, Avon explained. There also appears to be some kind of seismic pulse coming from his arms. Some of this tech is reminiscing of Didialu's tech. My dad's tech? Sam thought out loud as he flew in, immediately getting shot at by 3 of the gunmen. He instinctively held his arms in front of his face, but as he landed near them he lowered them, knowing that they couldn't even dent the armor. Hello, gentlemen. Fancy meeting you here. Metal Knight? He's real? One of the men gasped, immediately getting punched in the gut and sent into the wall. The reaction from the 2 riflemen were to shoot at him again, only were cut off as Sam grabbed both of their rifles, ripping them out of their grasp before throwing them to the ground, breaking both of them on the ground. Before he was about to reach for the gunman, he was shot in the side of his head by a shotgun, taking 2 steps to the side from the impact. The bullets, however, simply fell from his armor, not coming close to breaking the metal plating. When he turned to the crook with the shotgun, he could see the fear in his eyes before he flew at him and grabbed him by his shoulders. Using the momentum, he threw him down and slid him across the floor, hitting the wall with enough force to knock him out. All right, hands up or you're... When his boots hit the ground again, he turned to both the riflemen, seeing them with their hands already up. Oh, you're both quick. Boss said it was just going to be a quick cash and grab. He didn't say anything about fighting a flying man in armor. One of the 2 responded, watching as Sam started to walk towards the counters to look for the workers. Hey, is anyone here? He asked as he looked over the wooden counter, getting surprised as a fist came out of nowhere and punched his faceplate. A large amount of force had impacted him just after, sending him crashing into one of the walls, disorienting him from the crash. Well, so the inventor shows himself once more, a man said as he jumped over the counter, revealing himself. He stood at an imposing 6'5", the same height as Sam with the suit on. But the man had that height naturally, and a large build, appearing that he could have been a professional boxer. I wasn't expecting you to show, thought your train save was a one-time thing. Sam groaned as he got back up, his vision clearing as the man approached him. When he could finally see, he stared in surprise when he saw the exoskeleton suit around him, and the gauntlets that he had put on. He's seen them in his father's prototype database. That equipment. Like it? The man smirked as he clenched his right hand into a fist. A little retirement present I got for myself. And it is rather fair, I did help design it after all. That technology belongs to Didialu's Corp. Not some criminal like, before Sam could finish. The man punched him in the stomach, the shockwave going off again and sending him through the wall, landing on a police car. The fools at Didialu's Corp had no idea what I had given them. The man shouted from the new hole in the building. Avon searched through the database. Sam ordered his AI, slowly getting up from the hood of the car. His gut felt like it was shaking, the impact having some kind of lasting effect. I had already found everything, sir. Avon responded, all of the data appearing on Sam's screen. Lancaster Sneed was a chief engineer in Didialu's weapons division for almost 20 years, serving as a close partner to your father before they parted ways over the use of Sneed's new weapon. Seismic sonic shifters, relays that have such a high frequency they cause a shockwave of kinetic force. I think I remember him talking about that. Sam groaned as he got to his feet, his armor keeping his shaking from showing. So, you didn't like how Didialu's was handling your tool, so you took it for yourself? That idiot wanted to waste it on construction work. Sneed glared, said it would be better used to clear rubble or be focused to cut through stone. That way excavations would be more precise and less of the digs would damage what they were looking for. Sounds reasonable to me. This equipment can flip tanks with a strong enough frequency, and he thinks it'd be better used moving pebbles. The engineer scoffed, his gauntlets glowing as he increased the frequency. Maybe if he sees a little demonstration on a walking tin can, Alexander will see just the mistake he made. Oh, you did not just call me a tin can. Sam smirked as he activated his thrusters, flying right at Sneed. He expected that a direct charge would surprise the man, but was proven wrong as he was hit in the side of his head, sending him off course and crashing into the bank. What you made is nothing more than a glorified F-22 in the shape of a man. Sneed responded, turning to where Sam was currently laying at. What I invented is a revolutionary tool that creates enough kinetic force to knock away multi-ton objects with just a single punch. Imagine how devastating this technology could be when applied to a bomb. The amplification of a stronger power source, all the potential such a simple idea could have. All the lives you'd be ending. Sam growled as he stood back up, several dents in his armor from the latest punch. Avon, update me. Suit integrity is at 96%. The AI answered. I'd advise avoiding any more blows to the head. You'll suffer a concussion and be unable to take in the HUD data. No more head injuries, got it. He'd respond before using his thrusters to send himself forward, rearing his right fist back as he approached. When Sneed went to throw his own punch, Sam landed and ducked under, landing a blow to the man's chest before raising an arm to block Sneed's follow-up. The impact caused his bones to rattle, but he was able to swat the gauntlet away and land a punch to Sneed's face, causing the man to take several steps back in recoil. Guess it wasn't smart fighting a guy in full body armor without a helmet, huh? Sam snarked at the man as he steadied himself, BLD coming down the side of his face where Sam hit. In response, a full-plated mask slid across Sneed's face, optics glowing to life as he now had better protection. Oh, never mind. Sneed then hit both of his wrists together as he walked towards Sam, the light of his gauntlets brightening while a faint buzzing was heard. Sir, he increased the frequency by 50%. Oh, terrific, Sam groaned to himself as Sneed ran at him, blocking a punch with both his arms. He was able to bear most of the impact, but had to move his head back to avoid a swift punch to his chin. He'd use his thrusters to flip back, kicking Sneed as he did. Before he finished though, Sneed grabbed his ankle, keeping him in place as he flew. You're not getting away that easy, he grinned as he pulled Sam closer, his own suit offering a decent strength increase before punching next to Sam's reactor. The punch left a massive dent in his chest plate, his chest tightening in pain as he used his free leg to kick Sneed across his face. The man went flying to the side, landing on his side while Sam landed down on his hands and knees. Avon, status. The last punch caused your reactor to pause for a second, almost giving you a heart attack from the sudden loss of charge. Avon detailed, his heart rate having spiked from the pressure. I don't get it, why is his punches doing that much more? Sam questioned to himself, getting up slowly along with Sneed. The frequency in which his gauntlets are striking has a temporary pass through solid objects. The AI noticed, causing Sam's eyes to widen. It's likely the damage you personally are taking comes from the frequency passing through your body, rather than the attacks themselves. What's the matter, Metal Knight? Not feeling so good in there? Sneed asked mockingly, noting that he was moving better than him armored opponent. Don't tell me that a little sonic frequency passing through you hurts that much. It's nothing more than a small little jolt. To you maybe? Sam muttered under his breath, getting into a basic stance as Sneed ran after him. Flying over him, Sam did a flip before blocking a punch with his elbow, quickly swiping it away and landing his own punch on him. Sneed would return his own punch to Sam's gut, followed by a kick to his side. Each strike the two would wince, but surprisingly they stayed fighting, trading blows in front of the spectators. The officers on site remained in place with their weapons down, not taking the risk of hitting Metal Knight among the chaos. Although they had no reason to listen to the vigilante, they were trying to avoid any potential misfire from Sneed's gauntlets. Not to mention they weren't aware if Sam had any ordnance in his armor. Despite the seemingly equal fight from both Sneed and Sam, the younger boy was clearly at a disadvantage. More of Sneed's attacks were connecting, the vibrations in his bones slowly building up to affect him until Sneed landed another punch to Sam's chest. The punch caused his reactor to pause once more, his body tensing and leaving himself open to the next punch, sending him crashing onto his back several meters away. The boy would groan heavily as he got back up to a single knee, placing a hand on his chest as his heart stung. He couldn't risk taking another punch to his chest, otherwise he'd go into cardiac arrest. But without any weapons, he would be forced to go back into trading punches with the man. Avon, got any ideas? None that wouldn't risk severely injuring Mr. Sneed, sir, Avon informed. The best I can say is take to the air and try to find a way to distract him. Distract him? What can I do to distract him? Sam thought, activating his thrusters as he was about to take to the air. But before he could, Sneed ran forward and punched his leg, flipping him over and causing him to crash face first into the concrete. He was then flipped over as Sneed stood over him, rearing his fist back as his gauntlet increased in frequency again. Sir, the frequency has been increased to 100% higher than the initial frequency, Avon warned, leading to Sam to cross his arms over his face when he threw the punch. Good night, Metal Knight, Sneed shouted as he was about to punch Sam, his gauntlets producing a faint hum from the frequency being broadcasted. But before it landed, however, he was caught by surprise as a strange substance caught his hand, stopping him just inches from hitting Sam. What is this? Back up, buddy. Sneed was then pulled right off of Sam, surprising both him and the man as he was then kicked in the side, hitting against the bank wall. As Sam uncrossed his arms, he looked over to see someone running over to him. They were dressed head to toe in ragged-looking clothes, a strange mix of brown and pale yellow. Not a single part of their body was visible. They didn't stand too imposing. By Sam's guess, they seemed no bigger than an average woman in Japan, and their voice would point to that as well. Although the mask and outfit certainly did a good job at making it difficult to make out her features. Are you all right, Metal Knight, sir? The person asked as they reached him, holding their hand down to him. Sam accepted the hand without thinking, caught off guard as she easily pulled him up to his feet. Who are you? Sam asked. Oh, right, well she started to say, pausing as she came to a realization. I haven't quite figured that part out. Got it, newbie, Sam responded, turning to see Sneed getting back up. Well, while I got you here, think you can lend a hand without getting in the way? I'll try, she responded, getting into a lowered stance as Sneed stood. Do you have an idea in taking him down? It's just, I saw how things were going and I sort of figured, I don't mean to be rude, but you were struggling a lot. Lose the stutter, newbie, Sam sighed as he shook his head. I have something in the works, but I need him still if it's going to work. Think you can handle that? Roger that, Metal Knight, sir, she responded, saluting before running towards Sneed. One still bad guy coming up. Avon, start transferring power to my repulsors, Sam ordered. Sir, the repulsor tech hasn't been cleared for fire testing yet. At its current state, the power required will be twice the projected amount for safe. I understand that, Avon, now make it happen, Sam interrupted, having already seen the data for himself. We're just going without the training wheels, nothing too dangerous. Besides, we need to be quick for the newbie, so cut the chatter and set it up. Understood, sir. Who are you? Sneed questioned the woman, seeing her run at him in her makeshift suit. You know what? Doesn't matter. Just another freak to test my work on. Throwing a punch, Sneed activated his seismic sensor halfway through to cause a wave of kinetic energy right at her. However, she seemed to easily predict the attack, falling back and sliding on her back towards him. Not happening, big guy. As she reached him, she pushed off the ground and flipped over him, avoiding a downward punch that cracked the ground underneath him. When he turned to find her, he looked up to stare in confusion as she stuck to the wall, crawling on her hands and feet. What is that stuff? Sonic dischargers? Seismic sonic shifters, not that you would understand what that means. Raising his fist up, he planned to fire another kinetic wave when she shot her wrist out and fired the same substance as before, enclosing his entire hand with it. Actually, I know a thing or two about that. She would respond, firing 2 more shots of the substance at his other hand and chest, stopping all of his fire options. Guessing by how you used them, they fire a sort of shockwave of force to amplify your attacks or even create a projectile. Kinda basic, don't you think? Basic? Basic. Uh-oh. Sneed was visibly enraged at the insult of his life's work being basic, resulting in him setting his gauntlets to max, blasting the strange sticky substance off of his weapons. Jumping down, she'd avoid a kinetic blast that took a chunk of the wall before kicking at him, hitting his chest and knocking him back. Flipping back, he'd grip into the concrete and stop himself from going too far back. But before he could get up, the woman shot 2 ropes of the substance at the 2 sides of him. She'd grip onto the ropes and pulled herself, crossing the distance in almost a second to kick him in the face with both her feet. Knocking him into the air, she shot 2 more ropes onto his chest, sticking to him and slamming him back to the ground. Sneed was now showing signs of taking damage, taking longer to get up from his dazed head. When he was back to his feet, he would be surprised as his feet were shot by the substance and stuck to the ground, keeping him in place. "He's open Metal Knight." Hand repulsor at 100%, Avon informed, getting a smirk from Sam. "You're going down, Sneed," aiming his right hand out. The repulsor on his palm glowed yellow before firing an energy projectile. A small beam that instantly hit Sneed in the back, and with it ripped him off of the ground and back into the wall. "Whoa!" The woman jumped away from Sneed when he flew past her, looking back to Metal Knight. "You can shoot lasers? When could you shoot laser?" "Well, it isn't exactly a laser, just charged and uncharged particles forming into a semi-solid projectile beam," Sam explained, the light dying down as he closed his hand. Sneed then fell to the ground from the wall, Sam soon walking up to him. He would look down at the stunned man, scanning across his armor before detecting the power source's energy level. "You don't deserve this tech." Sam spat as he reached down, grabbing the reactor and yanking it out, ripping it from the wires and metal that held it. Looking at it, Sam could easily recognize the design as one of the dozen prototypes for his own arc reactor. The thought of a similar model powering a weapon angered him, leading him to crushing it without a second thought. Tossing it, he'd turn as he heard the police start to approach, looking over to his savior. "You have a way of getting out of here?" "Huh? Oh yeah, I can move on my own," she answered, nodding. "Meet me 2 blocks north from here, I want to talk," he ordered, taking off and flying away shortly after. The woman couldn't help but smile under her mask, her feet jumping in excitement as she could barely contain herself. "Metal Knight wants to talk to me." "Stay where you are," one of the officers ordered, snapping out of her excitement. "Oh, right, authorities," she said to herself. "Sorry, officers, but I have a meeting to get to," she would apologize, quickly running past them and surprising them with her speed. Just as she stepped onto the street, she aimed her right wrist up and fired a rope of her substance, hitting the side of a building and pulling herself up. "Dude, did you see her figure?" Issei asked over the comms, calling in after letting Sam fight without a backseat driver. "That girl is definitely a 8/10 at worst." "Seriously, that's what you noticed?" Sam asked, rolling his eyes as he landed on a building roof. "Not the impressive strength, incredible acrobatics, blinding speed, or the weird stuff coming out of her wrists. All while in a quickly thrown together costume that probably limits all of her movements." "Well, yeah, of course I did," Issei responded. "But come on, man. You can't deny that she's probably a beauty underneath that ridiculous costume. Maybe not the biggest melons, but those hips and figure, man." "You're a one-track mind, Issei." Sam chuckled as he shook his head. "But that's what I like about you. You don't ever seem to change." He then saw a splatter of the woman's substance hit the edge of the roof, connected by a rope of the same material. "I'm cutting the comm for now, she's just about here." "Get her number," Issei would shout before the communication was turned off. "The voice augmentator is still on, right, Avon?" Sam would double-check, getting confirmation immediately. "It always is, sir." The woman then swung and landed on the roof's edge, landing flawlessly as she turned to face Sam. "Man, that was a close one, huh?" It would have been pretty dicey, but I could have handled it," Sam responded, walking towards her as he did. "But let's ignore me for now. I want to know who you are, and how you were able to shoot those weird ropes and sludge things at Sneed." "Oh, right. I'm sure you have a lot of questions," she said, folding her hands together as she looked around. "We're completely alone up here," Sam said, getting her attention. "We're high up enough that no one would hear unless you shouted. And none of the buildings around are housing, so no one will be listening from a window. That got her to sigh with relief. That's good. Collecting herself, she'd hold her right hand out for a handshake. Well, I still don't have a name for myself, but I can say that I'm like you. Or at least, I'm going to be trying to be like you. You can relax, you know. Sam chuckled as he shook her hand. And if you don't have a name for yourself, why don't with something simple? What's that weird white stuff you were shooting around? Oh, that's my webbing, she answered enthusiastically as she reached for her waist. Pulling out a small capsule, she handed it over to Sam, who looked at it while his suit began to scan it. It's a chemical compound I invented with stuff I found lying around. You see, it's meant to mimic the properties of a spider's silk, and I have these small gadgets on my wrists that let me shoot them. In response to her explanation, she twisted her arm so that his palm was facing up, revealing a small metal device that connected to her wrist. Pressing down on a small button, the covering came up and revealed another one of the capsules she gave Sam. See, I put them in here to be able to shoot small amounts of the webbing or a long rope to swing from. After Avon had completed the scan, Sam held the capsule next to his head while looking to the woman, his shocked expression hidden by his helmet. You made this stuff, all by yourself with a bunch of random chemicals? Well, they aren't random parts, but yeah. It took me months to figure out the right formula. I was actually making this stuff before you stopped that train even. This stuff is incredibly efficient. The tensile strength is unreal. Most carbon ropes can't compare to this. He noted, seeing all the chemical compounds running across his HUD. It's amazing. I didn't even know that all of these chemicals could go together in such a way. Please don't make it sound that special. She blushed, kicking her foot to distract herself. I'm sure with your intellect you could have made this in a snap if you wanted to. No, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't have ever been able to make this, Sam admitted, tossing the web fluid back to the woman. I'm only decent with chemicals and elements. The only ones I'm an expert with are metals. But I'm sorry that I don't quite understand why you chose a synthetic web like a spider. Where'd that come from? Oh, that's a bit of a story. I got time. Oh, really? She asked, getting a nod from him. Well, okay then. Mind if I get comfortable? Help yourself, Sam waved. Sighing, she would slowly climb down to where she was hanging on the side of the building, her feet and left hand sticking to the wall. Okay, so it all started when I was born in Osaka. Sam then groaned, leading her to shake her hands as she turned to him. No, don't worry, it's not a life story thing. I was just going to bring up that when I was born, I didn't have my powers. Oh, sorry, Sam apologized. So I guess you aren't a mutant then? No, or at least I'm not a natural one, she answered, relaxing herself again. See, that goes back to just a couple months ago, about 10 when I went on a science trip. It was a long one, all the way to America for a science fair. I had a theory on chemical infusion that was surprised most of my teachers on how sound it was. So I was sent and got to go to the company Oscorp Industries. Oh yes, I know that company. Sam nodded, slightly frowning underneath his helmet. They specialize in genetic mutation and engineering, correct? That's only one of the fields, but yeah, they have a lot of resources in it, she explained. While I was there, I got separated from my supervisor and walked into this weird room filled with spiders and webs. She then looked down to her right hand, rubbing over it in remembrance. Then one of them bit me, and it was the most painful thing I ever felt. I nearly collapsed from the pain alone. But I was able to make it out and close it. Didn't want anyone knowing what I was doing, she continued, looking up to Sam. I was supposed to reveal my infusion theory, but after an hour I was beginning to feel sick to my stomach. When I was finally at the lab to discuss it, I passed out with a high fever. The doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and I was bedridden for a whole month. I missed my taekwondo tournament because of it. You do martial arts? That explains the fighting skill. Yeah, so when I finally was able to move again, I was completely caught off guard when I noticed these changes to me, she said, clenching her hand and releasing it. I felt as light as a feather, and could lift way more than I ever could. Not to mention when I'd move, I felt like my senses were set up by almost 10 times. I was expecting things coming without even knowing they were there. And then these weird, Microscopic hairs formed on my hands and feet. I couldn't see them, but I knew they were there, and they allowed me to stick to the wall. "So some spider bit you and suddenly you gained powers?" Sam asked, looking down to the woman. "Yeah, I think they were doing serious tests on those spiders, and when it bit me, it must have mutated my genes to enhance them. Kind of like that super soldier serum used to create Captain America. Genetic experimentation." Sam grunted as he looked away, confusing the woman as he did. When he noticed her confusion, he rubbed the back of his helmet. "Sorry, I'm just not a big fan of tampering with genes. It's a messy routine and it doesn't usually end well." "Personal experience?" "Something like that." Sam nodded, walking up to the edge. "But there's no need to talk about me. Why don't we try thinking of a name for you before the news makes one for you?" "Wait, you want to help with that?" "Of course, I love naming things. Kinda disappointed the news beat me to thinking of a name. I would have gone with Steel Legionnaire or something." He then cupped his chin with 2 fingers, rubbing the smooth metal as he thought. "Let's see, you swing on webs, so maybe the Slinger." "Nope, too dull." "Webshot?" "Sounds more of a villain name." "Fang?" "Guy's name." "The human spider?" The woman only looked up to him, getting him to shrug in agreement. "Yeah, that's only a name Tobey Maguire could come up with." He then scratched the top of his helmet. "What's a good name? One that's original and not too attention-seeking but has meaning. Spiders have 8 legs, putting them up as arachnids. He then tried to snap his fingers, failing due to the metal layer. "I got it. How about arachnid?" "Arachnid," she echoed. "Yeah, it's short, to the point, and relates to spiders." Sam then looked to his power, seeing that he was just below half from the repulsor blast. "Hey, I gotta go. Sorry I can't stay, but my suit is probably going to need minor repairs and updates." He then activated his thrusters, hovering several feet above as he looked down to her. "But considering the crime wave that's going to be hitting QO soon, we'll have plenty of work to get done." "Wait, we?" she questioned. "Well, yeah, I can only assume you'll have my back when things go down. You can trust I'll have yours." He then turned up, taking off and flying into the air. "See ya around, arachnid." As he flew away, the woman would watch him as he was quickly miles out. In an attempt to watch him for as long as she could, she took her mask off, revealing her brown hair and green eyes. Haya could only watch in wonder as who she saw as Metal Knight flew off, her now short-cut hair blowing faintly in the wind. When her enhanced vision could no longer see him, she would look down to her mask. "Arachnid," she said quietly, smiling as she gripped it with both hands. "I like it." Putting her mask back on, she looked out to QO with hopeful eyes, seeing a new future in the works for her. She could only smile to herself as she now had a purpose for her powers, and could make use of it. It was a new chapter in her life, one she was glad to share it with a partner like Metal Knight. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author VaranFall on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.